HHS? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, Housing Authority, and successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency and the El Cajon Public Financing Authority. The meeting is now called to order, and I'd like to ask the Deputy Clerk to call the roll. Oh, excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet our new City Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem McClellan absent, all other council members present.
Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a member for the county here, Dave Estrella. Dave, could you come on up? And Dave is the Director of County HHS.
Integrative Services, Health and Human Services Agency. Good morning.
And Dave, would you mind leading us in the pledge this afternoon, followed by a brief moment of silence?
Absolutely. If everyone could place the flag. Place your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Estrella. The Deputy Clerk posted orders of adjournment of the June 28th, 2016 meeting of the Public Finance Authority meeting and the June 13th, 2017 City Council Housing Authority and successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency. Meetings on the agenda of June 27th, 2017. City Council Housing Authority successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency and the El Cajon Public Financing Authority meetings in accordance with state law and Council Authority successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency policy. Agenda changes. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
Mayor, I have one change, and it simply has to do with a change in a recommendation of item 1.11, moving that hearing date from June 11th to July 11th to July 25th at 3 p.m.
Noted. Thank you. Council, any agenda changes? May we have a motion then to approve the changes to the agenda? Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion passes by unanimous vote of those present.
We are now at consent items. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion, according to the recommendation listed below. With the concurrence of the City Council, a council member or person in attendance may request discussion of a consent item at this time. Council members, do you wish to pull any consent items? Staff, do you wish to pull any consent items?
Mayor, I think we're in the Public Finance Authority, as long as we have that understood.
I'm sorry, I'm following the...
It's the consent items for specifically the Public Financing Authority 1.1, 1.2 only, and then we'll get to the consent items for everything else.
Okay, great. So, so Angela, do we have any speaker cards for this item?
No cards.
All right, then, is there a motion to approve the consent item?
So moved.
Both items. Move the second, please vote.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to reset the vote, please.
Okay, please
Thank
vote.
you. Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right. Now I'm going to adjourn the meeting, but don't go away because it's just for this one. It's just for this one little meeting here. We are now at adjournment. The meeting of the El Cajon Public Finance Authority held this 27th day of June 2017 is adjourned. And we will proceed with the meeting of the City Council Housing Authority successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency. There are no presentations today, and now we're, again, agenda changes. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
Yes, sir.
Council, any agenda changes? All right. That brings us to consent items. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion. According to the recommendation listed below, with the concurrence of the City Council, a council member or person in attendance may request discussion on a consent item at this time. Council members, do you wish to pull any consent items?
Mayor, before that, I had made the incorrect assumption we're at the city council meeting. On consent items, just to reflect that the public hearing will be held on item 1.11 will be held at July 25th, 2017 meeting at 3 o'clock. If that's part of the approval of the consent item, I would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for mentioning that. All right, staff, do you wish to pull any consent items? Angela, do we have any speaker cards for consent items?
No cards.
All right, to make a motion then to approve the consent item, noting the change that the city attorney has mentioned. Is there a second? Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
That brings us to public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council Housing Authority successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments related to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, council, authority, and agency members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do we have any cards under public comment?
We do. We have several. The first speaker is Dan Prigi.
Welcome back, Dan.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Dan Pridgick. Again, I'm here to talk about the house on Swallow Drive. Last meeting, after several neighbors got up and discussed it, it was mentioned that you would contact me afterwards. I've tried to reach your office, but have been unsuccessful in getting a response from you or anyone from city management. So
I apologize. I thought that because it's an ongoing investigation and because there's matters in process right now, at the request of the city attorney and the city manager, I didn't get more involved, but I thought you had been made aware, and I apologize. So if you would meet with us at a sidebar after the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, if you would like, I can call Chief Davis up to speak. Jeff, can you please come up to the microphone? Thanks.
I apologize about the confusion, sir.
okay.
Why don't you have a seat for just a minute, and then Mr. Davis will answer your question, and then you can come back if you like.
Okay.
Chief.
Mayor, council members, we are aware of the complaints reference to this particular piece of property. There has been a meeting between our staff, the city attorney, and we have been in the process of developing a plan to address those specific issues. The communication at this point, it is my recommendation, be conducted entirely through the police department. It would probably be prudent at that point so that as not to discuss or disseminate too much information as far as our plan goes. And again, this is part of the process because there is a current court order on that property as well.
Would you mind meeting with the gentleman afterwards and explaining the process that you need
Absolutely.
to go through?
We'll be available. They can all speak to us
I
afterwards.
think we had a breakdown in communication. It may have been my fault that I didn't contact him. So if you could explain to him how we'll go from there, I appreciate it.
We'll be available.
Thanks, Chief. Sir, do you want to come back? Meet with the chief. Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming in.
Next speaker, Richard Graydon.
Mr. Graydon, welcome.
And staff. One of the things I'm going to talk about is having the theater. The fact is that we had a problem, and we thought the problem was taken care of when we got the Rock Church from coming here. And then we were told that the theater was going to be taken care of in a short period of time. I've talked to 10 people, and I was told nothing has been done about the theater. The fact is it's a total mess now. And so when is this going to be changed so we can have something? I know that in El Cajon, basically we have one place we can go to. is a Grossmont Theater. La Mesa, San Diego, and other places have theaters and other things. We're a city of about 100,000, but basically we have no place to go to, and this would be a great place, and especially since we're building 2 hotels. So this needs to be taken care of, and the longer that you wait on this, the more costly it's going to be. That's the first thing, and then there was the second thing, which deals with the map. Knowing El Cajon, I'm a history major. Also, I was a teacher, and I dealt with problems in different areas, from El Cajon, El Centro, San Diego, and all that. The thing is that we are changing in El Cajon. The thing is that we're not basically just Hispanic, black, and white. We have others coming in from other countries. And the thing is, we need to get together and work with other people. And we're not doing this. The map that I saw that we picked causes a problem. And I'd like to see that map changed. And I heard about the people that helped choose the map. And I'm sorry to say, they are not in the center, they're towards the right. So the fact is that that's why we have this. Thank you.
You know, I'd like to address what the theater issue.
Yes.
I would ask for your patience. We have the money set aside to open the theater. We are in contract negotiations with the biggest theater management company in the world. They have come down here half a dozen times, taking measurements and making lists of what they want to do to get the theater ready to open up. I believe that I could say very confidently we're on the track to signing an agreement with them, and I think the theater will be the best it's ever been by far. So I know you'd like it to open up tomorrow, but if you give us a little bit of time and let us do it right, this time I think the theater can stay open and it can be better than it ever has been.
Well, the thing is, if it had been started, at least the roof, then we would not have the extra money.
The what?
The roof.
What about the
That's
roof?
when the rain came through and everything.
The roof has been repaired. It's in great shape. No problems there. So I just want you to just be patient, and we'll get it open as soon as we possibly can.
Okay.
Thanks, though.
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie Price.
Good afternoon, members of council and mayor. I wanted to say something about the theater, too, and I'm glad to hear my questions are answered. I hope we follow through with that, because we had hundreds of people working on a project about 5 years ago, I think, and we wanted to get that theater open. We gave you a report of more than 50 pages that gave you our recommendations. And sadly, one of our members died who had worked on that report, and his name is Gordon Bosma. He was, of course, in his 80s and very ill, but he really wanted to have that theater, and I would love to have had him be alive to celebrate its reopening. So I hope that you will get that reopened as soon as possible. The other thing I wanted to bring up is I've been told that when people want to make a complaint against the police can turn them away without filing a complaint. I'd like to know if that's true, and if it is, why are the police allowed to do that?
I know nothing about that, Mr. City Manager. That seems like the kind of thing I want to at least address.
Chief, going to ask you to come back up. Did he walk out? Oh, he's talking to the other gentleman. I would be happy to report back to the council. Anybody who wants to file a complaint regarding the El Cajon Police Department is allowed to do so. I can guarantee that. There is a process, and if they don't follow the process, then it's not going to go anywhere, but that's true with all processes. But I'll be happy to fill the council in and Ms. Price as to what that process is.
Appreciate that.
Okay, I thank you.
Thank you.
I thought it would be strange if any department would be allowed to refuse a complaint. And, you know, I really don't think the police department or any department should be in charge of receiving complaints against itself, because the first thing a bureaucrat does is defend themselves. And
I think the basic nature of the police department is to be concerned with law and order, and I think that instinct overrides any self-preservation type instincts that you might be considering. I would stack our police department up against any department in the country. And so I'm comfortable, and I certainly think that if that were to happen, it would be very quick for us to find out about that. So it's not in anybody's best interest to do something like that. I just can't imagine that happening.
Yeah, would you allow someone to go into the, say, streets department and let them file a complaint there, or would they have to go to the human relations or whatever department for personnel?
I believe you filed a complaint at the police department, but Doug, is there anything I'm missing?
People who don't believe in any department, including the police department, that they've gotten properly listened to end up in my office. So that is a part of being in the city manager's office. We occasionally have people who file complaints from any of the departments in the city, and we always process them.
Okay.
So rest assured that we will make sure that all complaints are heard and reacted to.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Last speaker for public comment is Joe Alegria.
School board member, Alegria.
Yes. However, today I'm coming in behalf of the East County Chamber, just to kind of give you some information in regards to the piece that I'm on the task force with the unification program on the homeless task force. To share with you, basically, first of all, our goal is to establish and target for reunification for family and friends. So currently we have 5 people who are reunited from the East County Salvation Army program. The purpose is to enhance the current Salvation Army reunification program and fund it effectively to respond to the demands for relocation for our homeless families and friends. Our objective for reunification is to determine an annual budget and to find cooperative sponsors to help fund the relocation costs, to conduct a marketing campaign, and to communicate the program, which includes training for outreach teams and brand the program with a strong name for unique to East County. To help send the maximum numbers of people back to their families and friends if possible, to coordinate San Diego Regional Task Force and downtown partnerships in coordinating between theirs and our program. And second, the goal to build the missing persons program at the Salvation Army specifically into the relocation programs to help families to find their loved ones. So our objective strategies are to help the Salvation Army into their existing county reunification programs, to get the reunification question on the SBDAT survey to determine if people are open to this option, and to ensure their program and its effectiveness in diverting people to their families and friends with counseling and coordination between all parties. And lastly, to get enough funding to place support in this program, an estimate that we would need $50,000 to relocate at least 100. And currently, the homeless reunification program through the Salvation Army is requesting a reimbursement for up to $10,000.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you, School
welcome.
board member. Any more cards? Before we move forward, I noticed that there are a lot of El Cajon Police Teen Academy people here. Why are you at the council meeting? Are you being punished for some reason, or no? No. Rewarded? Oh, there you go. Would all of our teen cadets stand up and be recognized? All right, thank you, guys. I really appreciate you getting involved. It's great to see young people getting involved in this at a time when it's a difficult time to be a police officer, so thank you. Wow, I feel like living in the military. Yes, sir. That's great. Thanks for coming, guys. All right, public hearings. Item 3.1 is on the fiscal year 2017-2018 annual City Housing Authority and successor agency budget. I'd like to ask our city manager to tell us about this item.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make this quick. 2 weeks ago, Clay Shane and I, your Director of Finance, made a presentation on the fiscal year 17-18 budget. I have nothing to add to that presentation this afternoon. This is your formal public hearing for resolutions of adoptions for that budget. Of course, we're here to answer any additional questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions of staff? Okay. The public hearing is now open. Do we have any speaker cards?
We do. The first speaker is Carolina Rodriguez Adjunta.
Hello, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor Wells and Council. My name is Carolina Rodriguez Adjunta, and I'm here with Climate Action Campaign. We're a local nonprofit organization with a simple mission to stop climate change one city at a time. As you probably know, cities are truly the hubs of innovation when it comes to policy solutions that curb carbon emissions and protect the people and places we love from devastating impacts of climate change. So we're excited to be here today to express our enthusiasm for El Cajon's commitment to developing a climate action plan through SANDAG's Energy Roadmap program. We were told by city staff that the proposed budget was to include additional funding for the development of that CAP. Climate plans serve as the roadmaps for cities to reach state climate goals that have benchmarks in the year 2020, 2035, and 2050. And because of that, we believe that it's critical for El Cajon to have a gold standard climate plan with measurable strategies that help us achieve those. And the beautiful thing is that the co-benefits of a climate action plan stand to enhance the quality of life of all residents in El Cajon. The strategies that are typically include cleaning the air through reducing pollution, which also improves public health, increasing transportation options, reducing waste, and cooling our cities with a bigger tree canopy, which I think we can all agree is helpful in days like these. And lastly, before I close, I just want to mention a new grant that we were rewarded in partnership with two other nonprofits, Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans, otherwise known as PANA, and Mid-City Can. As you probably know, PANA already actively works in El Cajon with the refugee community, but the goal of this partnership is to really lift up those refugee and immigrant voices as equal participants in the civic, environmental, and economic life in El Cajon, and to improve social, racial, and environmental justice. The members of the El Cajon refugee and immigrant community have already identified priorities such as quality, affordable housing, near transit, good jobs, clean air, a livable climate. So the focus of our work will really be in affecting equitable policies and health solutions that address these priorities. So the great thing is that the development of the Climate Action Plan creates this unique opportunity to ensure the inclusion of social and racial equity metrics in this plan to address inequality, pollution, and climate change. So lastly, again, I just want to commend the city for developing a climate plan and for including that in the budget. And we're here to be a resource and helpful as any way we can. Thanks for your time.
Let me see if there's any questions for you. Council? Well, thank you for coming. Nice presentation, and congratulations on your grant.
Thanks.
Stephanie Harper.
Hello, and please stop me if any of my information is wrong. That I believe we need to take a closer look at our funding. The item presented for adoption is the city's budget states that $920,000 is going to go to the EPAC, but is that where it's really going? Because we appropriated funds in 2010-2011 budget for the EPAC in the amount of $750,000. In 2011-2012 budget, we appropriated funds. The information I got was $3,550,000. I don't know if that was right. In 2012 to 2013 was $42,000. In the 13 to 2014 budget, it was $50,000. 2015 to 2016 budget, it was $289,934. In the 2016 to 2017 budget, it was $3 million. And now we're appropriating funds for $920,000 for the 2017-2018 budget. My only question is, why isn't the EPAC open? If we've had all this money, we've been spending all this money, where is it going to? Is it going to the improvements of the EPAC? Because with that amount of money, we should have already had it open by now.
All right. You remember just a few minutes ago when I said that we were in contract negotiations, and we've got the money set aside to rebuild ECPAC and open it?
So is that the money we've been saving out of all these funds, out of all
Yeah.
these years?
All the money that's been involved has been for the continual maintenance of ECPAC, for fixing the roof and doing all those things, plus setting aside money for new electronics, new lights, new soundboards, and for whatever improvements need to be made when we reopen it. So I expect ECPAC to be open in a relatively short period of time. I just ask your indulgence for a little bit of time to finish contract negotiations, because this time we have the possibility of signing the largest agency in the world.
Evaluation? Yeah. That's awesome. And
They've been hugely successful in other municipalities that have the same kind of thing. I think it's worth
the wait.
being careful and doing it right, so we can open it up. It can be a great experience for everybody, and it will last for a long time.
Okay, well, last time I spoke on this, you promised, you asked me to give you 6 months. It's been over 6 months, so I'm going to hold you to this one, to please. We really want our EPAC open.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and we all do. Thanks.
Robert Clark.
Mr. Clark?
Good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies. Regarding the budget, first of all, I want to say that I really appreciate the outstanding work that your Director of Finance does, Clay Shane, continuing the great work of Nancy Palm. I'm going to touch on something that a couple of previous speakers mentioned, and I've attended the budget workshops beginning in 2011, so I've compiled a stack of documents. And for the 2013-2014 budget year, $2,850,000 was taken supposedly from the general fund for the ECPAC improvements. So 4 years ago, you recognized the need to make the improvements, and the money was put in the general fund. And one question I have is, what happened to that money? Is it still there? I get the impression that each year you're putting new money into these improvements, when in fact you've had almost $3 million for 4 years. So that I would like to get some clarification of that. And understand the bids for the renovation are being rebid. And I'm wondering what the deadline given in the bid specification is for completing this facility. Because when you say just be patient, wait a little while, well, 4 years ago you said basically the same thing, and nothing has happened. So again, in terms of the rebidding, I'd like to know what the timeline is for that. And would also like to point out that in the budget material, you made reference to the crime-free hotel and motel program, but left off the crime-free apartment program. Since I live in one of those apartments, I really don't understand why the crime-free apartment program was snubbed. I guess it was just an accident.
Okay. Well, it seems like we're all suffering from ECPAC anxiety syndrome.
Let me start with the last one first. We still have the crime-free multiple housing program. And
yes,
a lot of it's funded under CDBG, and I still believe it's true that it's the largest one in California. So it's a very robust program. Getting to the ECPAC situation, everything the mayor had previously said is true. About 2.5 years ago now, the city did spend about, I believe it was $350,000 to repair the roof. That and architectural fees for the previous bid that you just mentioned is the only money that has so far been spent on ECPAC. So the vast majority of the money, you were just talking about the $2.8 million from several years ago, is still in the budget. It keeps rolling over. And so we have well over $3.5 million in there, apart from the money that has already been spent. Regarding the overall process, so let me be more specific. Council authorized myself and our staff, to engage in negotiations with Live Nation earlier this year. We are doing that actively. We are one half of that process. I can't speed up the other half. It's taking a while, but as the mayor said, a lot of progress has been made. The next time I return to the City Council, I fully expect to be with a draft final legal agreement contract between the City of El Cajon and Live Nation, and that, as a part of that, will be listing the specific improvements that city staff and Live Nation are recommending to be done, along with a cost estimate. And then, at that point, we will actually get into the contracting, the bid, as you say, for the improvements in the actual construction. So I don't have an exact date for that. We're going as fast as we can, but we're dealing with one of the largest companies in the world, and I have to be realistic about that. We are not their only priority.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it.
Well, Live Nation, as I understand it, is really an outstanding organization. You couldn't find a better group to schedule different entertainment acts. But no matter how good they are, they can't do anything until these improvements are made and the facility is open.
Here's something you may not fully understand, because I didn't fully understand it until we got into this. We're holding off on making improvements right now because Live Nation will have a specific list of things that they would like to do to have the facility be the way they want it to be so they can book the acts they want to book. So not being experts in this, we're deferring to Live Nation. We're waiting for them to finish the contract, provide us a list of improvements that need to be made. They'll possibly be even involved in the construction of that. So I know it seems like there's no method to this madness, but there actually is. And, I know that it's normal to be concerned, and it has been a long time, I'll give you that. But I think we're on the right track. And is it Riverside that had a contract with Live Nation?
Still does, yes.
So the city of Riverside, which is a similar city to us, has a performing arts center, and they have over 75 acts a year coming in, and it's a vibrant, robust situation. If we can get Live Nation, we can do that. That will by far outperform anything that we could do locally or we could do by ourselves. So we're kind of holding firm and trying to get that contract squared away. So I think it'd be the best thing for everybody. Thanks for bringing up the concerns.
Thank you very much.
Gary?
Well, I think one important thing to keep in mind is one of the reasons that we haven't done more improvements other than the roof, which desperately needed it, is that if we go in and make an improvement, spend $100,000, and Live Nation says, no, that's not the way we want it. You need to tear it out and put something else in. It could end up costing us a lot more money. So what we're doing is we have all this money set aside, and Live Nation has their architects in there right now measuring things, and they again, the biggest concert promoter in the world, whatever they touch becomes gold. We want to make sure that we do it right, and they know how to do it right. So we're not the experts in running a theater. They're the experts in running a theater. So they're going to have this whole list and architectural drawings, and then we look at it and say, okay, this is what you need. That's what we're going to do. So that's the best way to do things.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk again in a couple of months and see where we're at.
A couple of more months, yes. Okay, thank you.
I know. It's never fun. Somebody told me the wheels of government sometimes move slowly. Yes. Doug does not accept the premise. Okay. Are there
no more
cards? All right. Thank you very much. All right. I'd like to make a motion then to close the public hearing.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right, Council, are there any additional questions or comments about the budget? Don't see anybody jumping up. Okay.
I need to bring up a topic that, as the city's representative to the East County Economic Development Council, how about I just say EDC? I was out of town last week during the normal meeting of the business, and so I couldn't attend. And so it's not unusual on city council to have different opinions on how things should be done. And that's okay that we have different opinions, because sometimes that differences result in a sharper outcome at the end. On this particular instance, I'm told through three sources that Mr. Colossio's viewpoint was, with respect to the city budget, at that meeting was stated, unless we do something dire to change our current circumstances, the city is going to be bankrupt in a few years. And that comment concerns me. So I have a different opinion on that. There's no doubt that we are going to pay $23 million over the next 5 years, more than what we're paying today for CalPERS. And the reason why we're paying more is because El Cajon is like many of the other 482 cities in California. All these cities are facing the same CalPERS challenge because the CalPERS board lowered its rate of return, and that means the cities have to make up the difference. So we have to put more out of pocket. It is a challenge. There is no doubt about that, and we will face difficult decisions. However, the city of El Cajon has $6.5 million set aside specifically towards this $23 million. We also have a reserve that's unspoken for of $8.4 million. So together, today we have $14.9 million to meet that $23 million big bite that we have to take in the next 5 years. So I'm expecting a new governor, frankly, after 2018 to help with this situation. I can't see him or her allowing cities who aren't as well prepared as El Cajon to suffer draconian cuts in services to meet this CalPERS obligation up and down the state. We must pay people what we promise them. So that we have $15 million out of the 23 available, my point of view is we're nowhere near going broke. We're nowhere near insolvency. We're nowhere near on the verge of bankruptcy. Quite the opposite. People who hold bonds in El Cajon projects, investors who want to come to El Cajon, investors who want to build in El Cajon, and most importantly, the people of El Cajon should know we've reserved the money for this in the past few years, and I think that's very prudent and wise fiscal management. So I just have a different point of view. I say we're not going near bankruptcy. Will we face difficult decisions? Yes. Are we on the verge of bankruptcy if we don't do something critical? I have a different opinion that says no. In spite of this, we are still able to effectively add 3 positions to the police department and 3 positions to the fire department, which is probably a cost of over $1 million that we're shifting from somewhere else into public safety for the coming year. Well-deserved, well-needed public safety positions. The police department, the fire department, 14,329 calls. That's a lot. I think it averages 10 per day per station. It's a lot. So we need more firefighters there. Police department, absolutely. The public would love to see more police. Chief Davis, I support you from those 3 positions. I think we're nowhere near going broke. We're nowhere near insolvency. We're nowhere near the verge of bankruptcy. El Cajon is open for business. El Cajon is a safe community. El Cajon is a growing community. El Cajon has been responsible with the people's money.
Mr. Colosio.
Well, Steve, I wish you would have spoke with me privately before you said that. I said a couple of years. I never said a couple of years, so check your sources. I do have a different opinion than you, respectfully. And my opinion is that although it's not in a couple of years, my understanding of reading the budget is that if we don't find new revenue streams in 10 or 15 years, we could face serious problems. And I stand by those comments. It's not a couple of years, and I never said that. So just for a point of clarity. And you know what they say about opinions, everybody's got some. Doesn't mean yours is right.
Any other statements or questions? Okay. If we're ready, If somebody would like to make a motion, I'll accept one at this time.
Instead of turning on the mic. I make a motion that we approve the fiscal year 2017-2018 annual city, housing authority, and successor agency budgets.
Second.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right, item 4.1 is revision to City Council Policy A29. It's a compensation plan for executive and unrepresented employees and the city attorney. Acknowledgement of annual adjustment to the city manager's compensation. And I need you to bear with me because by law I have to read an oral report. In accordance with Government Code Section 54953, I will be reading a statement on this agenda item. Consistent with the city's established practice, employees not represented by labor bargaining group will receive the same compensation changes as those of their represented staff members. Under California legislation passed in 2016, I must identify the proposed changes and the local agency executives to whom they apply. The following employees will receive a 2.5% general salary increase effective the first full pay period in July 2017 and a $50 per month increase in health cafeteria benefits effective January 1st, 2018. This includes the city manager, the city attorney, the assistant city manager, the director of finance, director of administrative services, director of recreation, and the city clerk. Effective the first full pay period in July 2017, the police chief and the fire chief will receive the following: a 0.5% general salary increase, an approximate 1.5% non-PERSable stipend based upon the highest step in the salary range of $3,000 paid in 2 equal installments of $1,500 in July and December, and an additional 2.25% step added to the respective salary ranges. Effective January 1st, 2018, they will also receive a $50 per month increase in health cafeteria benefits. The fire chief's annual uniform allowance will increase from $350 to $500. And now I'd like to open the discussion for these items. Council members, do you have any questions or comments? Angela, do you have any speaker cards?
We have one, Stephanie Harper.
One of the promises that swayed the voters to say yes to becoming a charter city was put in to the June 5th, 2012 voter information packet as arguments in favor of Prop D. Our new charter will reduce local construction costs, ensure greater efficiency in the city government. Charters reduce control of Sacramento politicians, tough limits on political pay raises. Every single year, at least for the past 2 years, our city has given out executive and unrepresented employees and city attorney raises. I do realize that we do need to give a cost of living raise, but these amounts are just ridiculous. These are for people that are making over $100,000 a year. Since June 23rd of 2015, we have given the assistant city manager annual salary raise of $6,510.40 all the way up to $7,945.60. The police chief, $4,201 all the way to $9,380. The fire chief, $9,672 all the way to $16,036. Deputy city manager, $5,532 all the way to $6,760. And the director of public works, from $5,283 to $6,448. Along with these raises, we pay health insurance, including vision and dental, fully paid life insurance, retirement and post-retirement benefits, paid vacations, car allowances, sick leave with pay, cell phone allowances, technological allowance, and they even get paid for 24 hours of leave if they have a death in the family. We're still the poorest city in San Diego County. This may be why. Can you imagine how great our city would be if our city government took care of their citizens as well as they take care of their executives?
Okay. Any other cards?
No more cards.
All right, council, do you have any further discussion, or would you like to proceed with a vote? A motion. Gary, would you like to make a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second by Mr. Goebel. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Item 4.2 is a proposal to fund neighborhood watch signs. I'd like to ask the city manager to tell us about this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item was from an item raised by Councilmember Colascio 2 weeks ago. Council directed staff to bring it back. Effectively, the recommendation is for out-of-pocket expenses of a little over $70 per sign, actually $77 per sign. We believe there's about 5 or a little bit more new neighborhood watch groups per year. The costs, we were also asked to share as far as what does it cost to install a sign and our existing costs for police, representative from the police department to be at a home to talk to neighbors about setting up a neighborhood watch program. So we have included those in here. But of course, when you're talking about a sign installation, which we are recommending that we do, not just purchase a sign, these are employees in a truck that we already have. So this is what we would call a budgetary expense, but not out of pocket, because whether they're doing this task or another task, we're already paying those funds. So the actual additional is just $77 per sign, which would be several $100s per year. Staff's recommendation is that council direct us to proceed with paying for sign costs and sign installations for new neighborhood watch groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Council, do you have any questions or comments? Angela, do we have any speaker cards?
No speaker cards.
Council, is there any further discussion, or would somebody like to proceed with a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Great. Item 4.3 is a report on proposed strategies to address homelessness. I'd like to ask staff to tell us about this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. It's my pleasure to present this agenda item to you this evening, or this afternoon. Since earlier this year in January, this City Council has had an agendized council discussion about homelessness in one way or the other. And the purpose of this agenda item is to take all those discussions, take the findings and the recommendations from the East County Homeless Task Force, and to bring them together and present a group of strategies for the City Council to consider. What I wanted to do is spend a little bit of time, not much, identifying a couple data points that are identified in the staff report that I think are important that the public and the City Council recognize. Each year, the San Diego Regional Task Force on Homelessness conducts a point-in-time count in the month of January. That point-in-time count gives us a good sense of the number of homeless individuals, not only in the county, but also by city. Part of their survey looks at those that are sheltered, those that are, in other words, an emergency shelter or transitional housing, and those that are unsheltered. That would include those living on the street, those living in makeshift shelters, and those that are living in their vehicles. As you can see from this graph, overall there has been an increase in trend in homelessness in the city of El Cajon. Over last year, a 7% increase, and looking over a 5-year period, a 32% increase in homelessness. It's interesting to note that during this period of time, there's been a shrinking in the number of sheltered homeless, while there's been an increase in the number of unsheltered homeless. This actually is not only an El Cajon phenomenon, but this is a regional trend. In fact, if you look at the region as a whole, the red line depicts the number of individuals that are unsheltered, and the blue identifies the number of individuals that are sheltered. As you can see, there has been a shift in the last few years of who makes up the majority of homelessness in the county of San Diego, and the city of El Cajon is experiencing, not to that degree of shift, but we are experiencing a shift in our community as well. Last slide about background before we talk about strategies. I think it's important to recognize who our homeless population is. It's difficult to address a problem that we don't fully understand. In El Cajon, about a third of our residents, or 33% of our homeless residents, are chronically homeless, meaning that they have been homeless for at least 1 year or longer. Most of them are men. 7% of them are veterans, and if you were to extrapolate the number of our homeless population, that is about 45 individuals in our community. 25% are on probation or on parole, and 39% regionally are diagnosed or suffer from serious mental illness. Our point in time count numbers are actually lower than that, but looking at the region, which is probably more accurate, I think that reflects more of what our local homeless professionals say. And in fact, most of them say it's probably closer to 50% or higher. So looking at some strategies, staff is presenting in the staff report 15 specific strategies. They have been categorized into 4 overarching strategies. Those include an anti-panhandling campaign, increasing access to our homeless services in our community, creating more homeless opportunities, and ultimately participating in not only community but also regional cooperation. One of the outcomes of the East County Homeless Task Force was a recommendation to engage in an anti-panhandling campaign, and that included the city contributing money towards a sign. It included drafting an ordinance that the City Council would consider. It involved presenting an option for businesses that post posters in their windows that would not count against their total window signage. And it would include a public information campaign. The cost for this campaign is nominal. Staff is anticipating about $4,500 to order and to install approximately 20 signs throughout the community. One of the challenges that a lot of homeless face is understanding the network of services that have been provided for them. There's different layers of government, there's different layers of funding, there's a bureaucracy involved, and so creating some access opportunities is one of the most effective strategies to reducing homelessness, in addition to creating housing opportunities. One of the recommendations from the task force was for the city to help launch a homeless services app that can be used on a phone, either with an app or texting. The cost of that is about $3,500. Staff would recommend that the city help launch that application. One of the other impediments that the task force identified in individuals seeking or able to participate in homeless services is an anxiety about being separated from their pet. A lot of services require you to go into a facility that would not allow a pet. And so the notion that was presented by the task force is that the city would allow certain spaces at our animal shelter as kenneling spaces. If the city council were to want to pursue that, staff would recommend we seek some opportunities to reduce our fiscal impact. The task force felt that would be a nominal cost. Staff thinks that there actually could be some significant costs associated with that. And so by brainstorming, we'd like to present a plan, if this is a direction the council would like to go, on how to mitigate or how to reduce those costs. And we think there's some ways to do that. Staff also believes that we should continue to use our homeless outreach team operated by the police department at the level that we're currently engaging right now. And then lastly, and this is one of the larger ticket items that staff will be presenting tonight, is that the city pay for a homeless navigator for a 1-year period, hired and funded or managed through the Crisis House here in El Cajon. This housing navigator plays a pivotal role in providing case management, in understanding all the resources available, in reaching out to the county to understand their programs, to ensure that our homeless population is not only taking advantage of our local programs, but also county and state and federal programs as well. Staff anticipates that is about a $70,000 cost, and that includes everything from salary to overhead and management of that position. Staff also proposes several strategies that help increase the opportunity for housing provision for our homeless population. The first two programs listed on the slide hopefully can work in with complementation with each other. Staff is recommending that the city fund up to $80,000 of housing vouchers or landlord incentives. We believe that this could house up to 25 families or individuals and get folks off the street. Ideally, the city's contribution, significant financial contribution, could work with the county's Project One for All program as a complementary program. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Project One for All in a minute, but Project One for All, I should point out, specifically focuses on homeless population that has been diagnosed with serious mental illness. Staff also recommends that the council consider converting one of our motels into transitional housing as those opportunities present. And ultimately, as nonprofit organizations, as private developers present ideas to the council, to the city, staff recommends that we certainly pursue those and present those to the council for evaluation. The last strategy that staff wishes to present has to do with a comment that was made earlier this evening, and that's really taking our skill set and partnering with the nonprofit sector and other organizations that are focused on homeless services. And one of those is the reunification program being offered by the Salvation Army. And staff does recommend that the city reimburse up to $10,000 for this program. And based on the task force analysis, we believe this could serve up to reuniting 20 families with a homeless relative. Staff also recommends that we play a role in not only the East County Homeless Task Force, but also the San Diego Regional Task Force on Homelessness. And finally, we hope that we can create a partnership with the county, especially with this Project One for All program. I believe that if the council were to pursue these recommendations, it's a significant financial commitment. And I would hope that we could leverage that financial commitment with the county to ensure that those resources that the county is offering are being applied to the homeless population in the city of El Cajon. In fact, David Estrella, who you introduced earlier this evening, is here today. He can answer any specific questions about the Project One for All. But staff has been engaged in conversations with the county, with David specifically, and we would encourage council to direct us to continue negotiations to create a program that best meets our residents' needs.
My fault, sorry.
Last slide, let me talk about some numbers. Staff estimates that the known costs that are presented in the strategies tonight is about $168,000. We do not have a cost on kenneling. We do not have a cost on how much it would cost us to be an additional partner to the County of San Diego in addition to what we're presenting. And a motel conversion project would be large and significant and would vary depending on that project. So we don't have a budget for that. But none of these budget items are in your budget that you just adopted. What we would anticipate tonight is council, or this afternoon, is council giving us some direction. These are items that would be brought back more fully baked with a budget, with a funding source, with a more robust discussion around where those monies would come from. And with that, staff is here to answer any specific questions you have about the strategies presented.
Ben?
Graham. I think it was the first slide that showed the population of homeless. Yeah, that one. Now, when I brought a homeless plan earlier this year, I had split them into three categories, like the chronic homeless, which is like regular homeless people, and then transient, and then episodic, or people who go in and out of it. Is that, because that number just seems low, is that all of them?
That's based on the point-in-time count from the San Diego Regional Task Force on Homelessness, as well as those that are currently sheltered in housing through the ECTLC program. So those are numbers that are published numbers. Councilmember, I'm not sure where you got your numbers from.
Okay, so it's from your understanding that the 3 chronic, transient, and episodic are all in that list?
That's correct.
And then with the housing navigator, I think, is this the same housing navigator that was introduced a couple months back with respect to the...
That is correct.
Was the salary different when it was first brought up?
No.
It was always the 70?
About $70,000 was always the number.
And this is for one person?
Correct.
There are, I know this is
If
very...
I can add just one thing, Graham, I think it's salary plus some other things, vehicle and things like that.
Correct. Benefits, there would be office supplies, computer, all the things that would be wrapped up in the cost to hire somebody and to run them.
That's what I thought. So it's not 70, right? It's 70 plus?
It's 70 includes salary and all those other roll-up costs associated with providing it. So the salary is actually closer, less than $50,000.
Okay. There are things, and I know this is preliminary, so I'm not going to dig into it too much. There are things I like about this, and then there are things that concern me, because I think that when you're dealing with this issue, you're on a knife's edge, and we have to be very careful about the more services that we provide. I know this sounds, it's probably not ideal that somebody in my situation would say, but the more services that you provide for homeless, the more homeless people you're going to get in the city. And so, especially like with the conversion, I would not want that. But I know this, I'm just speaking, just sharing my opinion ahead of time. Thank you.
Any other questions?
More questions? One of the things I'd like to see is some conversations with the county and to get some kind of direction from them as to how much financial help they'd be willing to at least consider. You know, we hear a lot about this vast sum of money that the county has, and I know how that is. Sometimes it's not as much as people think. But I'd like to find out what their commitment level would be and how they would want to participate and partner with us.
Certainly.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Graham. Nice presentation. Okay. Excuse me for a second. All right, Angela, do we have any speaker cards on this item?
We have several. First speaker is Eric Lund.
Eric, welcome. And for those of you who don't know, besides running our chamber, Eric has been the point person on the Homeless Task Force, and we appreciate your time and dedication.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Eric Lund. I am the president of the San Diego East County Chamber of Commerce. And with regards to our requests, we'd like to thank the council and the staff for reviewing and considering all of them. And again, these are requests coming from our community. After many, many meetings and considering various priorities to reduce homelessness in our region. I'd like to make one amendment to our last request that we made a couple of weeks ago. And that is, if we ask that you consider having the police department conduct some additional research to see if it is practical to have a full-time hot team. And here's the consideration. We understand that Chula Vista and Oceanside Police currently have full-time teams, and we suggest that the police department reach out to those agencies and obtain statistics on their successes and the results that they have obtained since the inception of their programs, because we think it'll provide a clearer picture of what the likely impacts, positive or negative, might be of improving the hot teams and making them full-time. So that would be our recommendation. Also, I'd like to emphasize the need for assistance with the management structure of the task force. I'm spending an awful lot of time on it, and I don't mind. It's really good. But we could use a little bit of support, and so we really would appreciate any help that we can get with that. And by the way, we will be going to the other cities and making requests similar to requests that we've made. We'll customize it a little bit. And also, I have scheduled a meeting with Diane Jacob, so I'll be talking to her about county's participation in homelessness and what we're going to do out here in this region. Also, I want to mention I have handed out a sign quote for the anti-panhandling signage, so you can take a look at the cost of the signs. They're very negligible, but I understand you've got to put the post in and the crew and all that stuff, so there's more cost there. Again, I'd just like to say that we appreciate your leadership and your vision and your support in considering how we can reduce homelessness in this area. It's our firm belief that together, the whole entire community, every sector working together, we can reduce it quite a bit. So we've got 1,000 people out there approximately. The point in time count, by the way, I know we have some county regional task force representatives here, and hopefully they'll come up and clarify a few of those numbers that you were asking about. I don't believe that East County Transitional Living Center their numbers are not in that count, so that's why we get to about 1,000 total. Thank you very much.
I see there's some questions for you. Any questions? Ben?
Not a question, but a comment. Thank you for your work, and if you want to reach out to my office, I'll help you with structuring.
Great, thank you.
So are you comfortable with the report given by the staff? You feel like you're on the same page with that?
Hey, we're here to help facilitate and support the effort, and we really feel that staff did a great job. There's still a lot more to do. We have another task force meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock. It'll be at the La Mesa Community Center, and La Mesa is part of this whole effort as well. So we really encourage anybody in the community, officials or police or whoever would like to participate, we'd love to have them there. So 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Eric? Eric, did your team look at ordinances regarding the homeless in other cities in San Diego County?
Ordinances, with regards, kind of give me an indicator of what you're talking about.
Helping with the homeless problem. Was that looked at?
We haven't done a thorough investigation of it, but there are other cities that are doing things differently. You can look at Palm Springs. They have a very robust signage program, not only for anti-panhandling, but no sleeping in the parks, no sleeping on the sidewalks, things like that. So there are different cities doing things different ways. I know the regional task force, as you may have noticed, has hired a brand new executive director, and he comes from a state where they've been pretty successful with housing first, and that kind of a point of view on the program. They really reduced their homelessness considerably as a result. So there's a number of different ways. But ordinance-wise, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, but there's a lot of different ordinances.
Looking for, there's some ordinances that we could use that have already been tested in court that are in other jurisdictions that have proven to be helpful, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Well, I can tell you that I've worked with the Downtown Homeless Task Force for almost 30 years off and on, and that's with the Downtown Improvement Partnership. That's their business development group. And they have tried to do everything they can, but unfortunately in the state of California, we've made homelessness a very easy thing. We've enabled a lot of people to do things that in other states they don't allow. So it's made it more difficult for police and for cities to restrict some of those things. And also, as you know, we've changed our laws so that things that were felonies before are now misdemeanors. So all of that combined has made, I think, our homeless problem worse.
Right. Thank you, Eric, and thanks for all your hard work.
You bet.
Richard Graydon.
Mr. Graydon.
Thank you. On dealing with the homelessness, you mentioned various categories. One is those who are in the military. Some of them have PTSD, and then we should contact the VA. I was lucky. I came back. I didn't have any problems. My problems now, I'm 70% disabled through the VA and everything. But what we've got to do, in El Cajon, we've got on Main Street an area of land that's not being used. The thing is that we can bring people together and put up some apartments and things like that. Then what we can also do is get some of these people that had problems. Yes, some mental problems, some family problems, and other things. What we need to do is get some of them together, work things out, And the thing is that those that we can work with that have abilities and everything, we can find a way to either get them into school. Some may not even have a high school graduation thing, so we can do something about that, and that would change some of them. Others who have come back and have the ability, as I said, family and other problems, they can go to school because there have been programs that have helped the homeless. Then we also have the thing about that when you get people off the street and get them together and talk with them, that they see things a little differently. You go around El Cajon, we've got areas that are filthy. People don't clean up and everything. What we can do with some of them is have some of the homeowners pay from $5 to $15 a month to clean up. And we can have some of these people go around cleaning up and doing this. Then also they can be brought into the city with jobs when things open up. That is something. Instead of looking around, you've got these people who have learned. And this would help, and would also, as I said before, clean up El Cajon, because we've got areas in El Cajon that look like pigsties and everything. And that would help. So the combination of things. And the thing about doing this and doing that with everything and everything. You've got to get people on the ground floor and help these people right out. You can't just say, well, we'll get this way and we'll do this way and everything. If you get them on the ground floor, I learned that in the Army, I learned that as a teacher, I learned that working with other people who had mental and physical problems. And that's what we've got to do. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Carol Lewis.
Hi, Carol. Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor Wells, council members, city staff, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'd like to speak on behalf of the housing navigator for Crisis House. It's my understanding that the El Cajon City Council is proposing to establish a housing navigator to access suitable housing for residents 55 and older. This is a vulnerable population that we see often at Little House, and a lot of the problem is that they can't afford housing in this city with their limited incomes with Social Security. Crisis House has been successful in moving our residents from homelessness to temporary or permanent housing. The continuum of care of services will be provided is significant, and the positive impact on the health and wellness of low-income and underserved populations living on the streets in El Cajon, and will help prevent homelessness for others at risk. Crisis House currently has several programs in place that assist our homeless population for housing, including emergency shelters, transitional housing, and rapid rehousing programs. They work with the families for housing prevention, allowing them ways to keep their rental properties so that they do not find themselves homeless. Once an individual or family finds their way to Crisis House, they are aided by caseworkers to assist them with vital resources to maintain their health and safety. Crisis House has the knowledge, the experience, and expertise to successfully undertake a housing navigator to focus on the senior population. We have a membership of over 70 social service agencies with the El Cajon Collaborative. Our board of directors and all of our partners with a consensus vote have agreed to support your decision or your commitment to move towards a housing navigator. We feel like this is a very vital part of the plan, and we want to thank you for your commitment to making a change for our residents who are experiencing homelessness right now. Thank you.
Let me see if there's any questions, Carol. Any questions? Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Megan Dunn.
Well, Megan, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. Hi, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm Megan Dunn. I'm the East County Community Coordinator with the Regional Task Force on the Homeless. I'm here today to speak in favor of the item before you, specifically the funding of the Housing Navigator and additionally rapid rehousing resources through Crisis House. So Crisis House is the lead agency for the HUD-mandated coordinated entry system in East County. And by funding this position through Crisis House, the city will not only be able to maximize your rapid rehousing dollars, but also leverage this navigator to access all of the housing resources within the coordinated entry system, including County Project One for All. We work closely with Mr. Estrella and the county on that. Approximately 212 homeless households have already taken the housing assessment. Via SPDAT, you might have heard of us referencing that before, through Crisis House and other outreach efforts in El Cajon. The other reason to take this assessment is, the only reason to take this assessment is to obtain access to housing. So we know that these clients are motivated already to secure permanent housing. However, the limited housing navigation resources create an additional barrier to getting these clients into permanent housing. The item before you today will help reduce this barrier. Of the 212 households currently who've been assessed, we have about approximately 60 of them over the age of 55 senior population. So there's a significant need for these resources, and by connecting this navigator to the regional system, you'll maximize the city's investment while making a significant difference in the community. And this approach is already aligned with regional community plan and positions El Cajon as the leader for other cities to follow. For these reasons, I strongly urge you to vote yes on this item. Thank you.
Thanks. Let me see if any questions for you. No? Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Stephanie Harper. Dolores Diaz.
Diaz, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the council, Mayor Wells, and staff. My name is Dolores Diaz, and I'm the Executive Director of the Regional Task Force on the Homeless. You heard earlier that the task force has hired a new CEO, Gordon Walker, and he comes to us from Utah and is unable to be here, but he knows I'm speaking here today. I came with lots of notes and have scrapped them all, because I feel very strongly about some of the things that are before you today. I'd like to speak in favor of the housing navigation, but I'd also like to point out to you that there are major changes happening in our community, region-wide. Homelessness is not just an issue that El Cajon is facing, it's a regional problem. And the task force, as of January, has become your continuum of care. We are responsible for bringing in federal dollars, approximately $18 million, that we can leverage with your investment. And we are responsible for the annual point-in-time count. And I'd like to pause here and mention that, in fact, El Cajon has had an undercount of your homeless population for the last 2 years, particularly for the sheltered. And I'd like to tell you that why. In the staff report, and I'm very, very grateful to Graham Mitchell, because he did a very nice job articulating your numbers. But I will tell you that the reason why it's an undercount in the sheltered is because the East County Transitional Living Center simply doesn't have the capacity to provide us good, usable data. And as you move forward and make decisions, we would like your decisions to be data-driven. And we are your data center. So I would like to encourage you that every time you put a dollar out in a contract, that you mandate for homelessness, that you mandate the use of HMIS, because we can provide you the data on how projects are performing. It is not sufficient for a project to simply provide you their numbers. You want those provided by a third-party entity that can leverage the resources region-wide. We also are responsible for the coordinated entry system. The system is changing. Units have to be prioritized to those that are of the highest need. So I would also urge you that as you go through the strategies that were outlined in Mr. Mitchell's report, that you look at them. each individually, because you are already a partner with the County of San Diego. The San Diego, the Continuum of Care and the County of San Diego are already working with you region-wide to identify those that are of the highest need for permanent housing. When I see something like a motel conversion, ask yourself, what type of housing is this? Is it permanent housing? That is what's going to reduce and end homelessness. So I would urge you to look and ask those types of questions and make data-driven decisions. So thank you very much, and I'm here to answer questions. By the way, the point-in-time count comprehensive report has a profile for the city of El Cajon in it. As I mentioned, it's been an undercount of approximately 300 persons according to our estimates. So it is very high. And I'd also like to applaud the regional chamber for the work that they're doing. But I urge you to look at each one of those strategies individually before you take action. Thank you.
Any questions? Mr. Kalasha?
Are you available to meet individually with us?
Absolutely.
I know I have a lot of questions for you, so if you can reach out to my office.
Absolutely, we will do so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question about this HMIS
Yes.
system. What is the cost? So if the East County Transitional Living Center were to coordinate with your office for that, how much would it cost them?
The actual cost to use the system, we have been waiving licenses. It's and very, very minimal, like $125 per license. But the issue for them is personnel, the staff to actually do the data entry. And unfortunately, the data that they've given us says simply data not collected, because they are dealing with that homeless person that's in front of them, and the collection of data is not the highest priority. But to you, the decision makers, you have to have good, solid data. And the only way to do that is to, if you're going to give them money, I would highly recommend providing them the capacity in that so that they can pay someone to do the data entry.
And when you say there's 300 people unreported, are those 300 people that are actually being housed at the East County Transitional Living Center?
Yeah, the number that was given to my staff, unofficial, was a little under 300 beds that were in occupancy the night of the count. Keep in mind that the count is, we count just a snapshot of those that are on the street, those that are in beds, and then we survey 1 out of every 4. So the unsheltered data, I'm confident, very, very confident. What I'm not confident of is the sheltered, because the data was not usable. We couldn't verify it.
Right. So just so I understand, you're saying that there's 300 people more on the street than we're accounting for?
Not on the street, in the bed, the night of the count, at the transitional living, at East County Transitional Living
I guess what I'm
Center.
trying to say is 300 more people that you would classify as homeless, but they were being sheltered that night by East County Transitional Living.
Potentially, because we would want to know if they were in fact truly homeless, who has certified their homelessness, who are they, what are their demographics. We can't match them, and we have a very, very robust data system that we can help you make your decisions.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're more than welcome, sir.
How do you verify that data? Let's say if East County Transitional Living Center, what process would they have to take to verify that?
To verify the data? Well, for someone to receive federal money, and by the way, the City of El Cajon being an entitlement organization, it must, regulations require you to coordinate with the Continuum of Care in your efforts around homelessness. And the way that happens is there has to be a certification of homelessness. If they're a third party must verify, like if they're at an agency or if they're sleeping in a car or in a place not meant for human habitation. If they say they're disabled, who says they're disabled? It has to be someone that is licensed to be able to certify a disability. Things of that nature are third party.
Right, thank you.
Steve and then Ben.
How much training is required for a person to be able to enter something into HMIS?
We train on the basic use of HMIS, but we encourage use for, we train for privacy and security, ethics, so that their data is properly used. We are on the verge of opening our HMIS system for data sharing among the trust network, and it does require some training. The Regional Task Force on the Homeless provides that training, and it's free. It's part of it's part of the licensing. Again, the only problem that we had in El Cajon was the personnel capacity to do the entry.
Can those personnel be volunteers?
They can be, but it's not encouraged. If they're consistent volunteers, that's the good thing, because they'd be licensed and you'd have to trust them that they're entering the data consistently. And the policy says in real time, when the person is in front of receiving services, or within 3 business days, the data should be entered.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. And we will reach out to you, Councilmember Colasso.
We appreciate the good work you're doing.
Mr. Mayor, I think I, at this point, should make a comment because the Speaker, as well as Eric Lund, President of the Chamber, have correctly addressed this issue about the undercount. The numbers we showed up here, the numbers City of El Cajon includes, absolutely, completely includes everybody at East County Traditional Living Center. Specifically, 254 is the number we had for back in January. The issue about HMIS we're very familiar with, and it is our intention to talk to East County Traditional Living Center about that. But the total homeless count, including the official count that she just mentioned, is what we have reason to believe was actually in the East County Traditional Living Center at that time, is a total of 648. There was a question from Eric Lund earlier, should it actually be 1,000? No. The official count was down around 400 or so. Our count is actually 648. So I just want to be clear, because numbers are important in people's minds and what's really going on. So I just wanted to be clear about that.
So just so I'm clear, we're talking more about 650 versus 1,000.
That's correct.
And it's
about half. It's roughly half and half, sheltered, unsheltered. We have 2 major shelters. The biggest one is East County Traditional Living Center, and the smaller one, but still very significant, is Volunteers of America.
All right. But acknowledging the fact that these other agencies are disputing your numbers.
No, I think that they're talking about, I think correctly, because this is what we understand, if East County Traditional Living Center does not become properly involved in this certified count, it has funding ramifications, eventually even legal ramifications. I'm not disagreeing about that at all. I'm just saying from a numbers count, what Graham Mitchell just showed included East County Traditional Living Center, because knowing that the count was, the official count did not include them, we went back ourselves and added them in.
Well, thanks for clarifying that. I appreciate that. Any other questions? All right, we can take the next speaker.
Mike Runlett.
Hey, Mike, welcome.
I'm just representing the citizens, really. I'm part of the regional, or not the regional, but the East County Task Force, and I'm on 2 of the committees. So I've been part of this process watching, but not in any kind of official capacity, not as an employee of an agency or anything like that. What I would say is coming in from kind of the outside and not having a background in this at all, in homelessness, that the problem is a lot more complicated than somebody might originally think. And I think the solutions are also complicated and complex. So my encouragement to you guys would be to keep an open mind as you consider all these different facets of homelessness. There's a lot of agencies, there's a lot of people doing a lot of good work. What I've seen is the right hand doesn't really know what the left hand is doing in many cases. But there's a lot of really willing hearts, good intentions, but it's very complicated. The work that Eric has done from the Chamber, I'm not sure anybody else could do it as well as he has, keeping this herding cats kind of a group of people together. He's done it very well. One of the proposals that I saw was this kind of director of this task force request, not the housing navigator. I think that's different. I wouldn't say I fully understand what that job is anyway. But
I'm not sure the capacity for the chamber to stay involved as they have can continue much longer. And I think it's important that this agency demonstrates some support for the work that is going on at this kind of 30,000-foot level, so that the momentum, the energy that exists now with the community, the volunteers, the people that are employed in different agencies and service providers, that continues and doesn't get dissipated by a sense of hopelessness, like, well, this is just going to... I hear that a little bit in some of the voices, that, well, this is a big problem. We can go off on a tangent, whether it's, housing, vets, or whatever. I'm just encouraging you to stay open-minded on this, because it's really pretty complicated. That's all I would have to say.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Let me see if there's any questions for you. No, I think you answered everybody's questions. Thanks. But I do have staff. I want to ask you, he mentioned this director position, and I believe that was not in your recommendations. Can you explain what the city's thoughts are on that, or what the city staff's thoughts are on that?
At this point, our thoughts is, while we are obviously recommending a significant amount of city funds be placed in this, we're not prepared to recommend any beyond that. And we believe, to be more specific, that's a position that others can contribute to funding, that we don't have to contribute everything. So we prioritized what we thought was the most important things and useful to the city of El Cajon. There's obviously 3 other cities and the county of San Diego in the East County. And so we've left 3 things off that we didn't think was our priorities. We don't think it's bad or wrong that they're proposing it. I'm sure it could be useful, but we're not the only game in town. So we prioritized what we thought was El Cajon's priorities.
All right. Thank you. No questions? Okay. Next speaker, please.
Pat Zamora.
Hi, Pat. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon.
Make sure you pull that microphone down so we can hear you.
Okay, good. Can you hear me now?
A little further.
How's that?
Perfect.
My name is, hi, good afternoon, Mayor Wells and City Council. My name is Pat Zamora. I'm the Director of Programs for Crisis House. Unfortunately, Mary can't be here. And like my comadre Dolores, I can't scrap my notes. She asked me to read her notes.
Sure.
Thank you, Council, for stepping up and willing to help us with this issue of homelessness. We need your ongoing support in order to be able to continue to work with our homeless. We, Crisis House, want to be part of the solution. We assume that we are a great part of the solution, but as many of you know, we're a small agency with only 7 employees. On June 2nd, we had a Project Homeless Connect here in East County. We had about 35 agencies that showed up and provided at least over 1,000 services. Some of those services included 100 that conducted a SPDAT, 179 accessed medical care, 42 of those individuals receive a hepatitis A vaccination, 96 receive counseling services, and the maximum number of showers for that day was conducted. It was 25, which was the max, demonstrating that homelessness is a big issue. When Dolores was talking about the SPDAT, because we've conducted over 200 SPDATs within a couple of weeks, so that's kind of indicative of the number of homeless that you have that just come to Crisis House. Included in that population are homeless women that are victims of domestic violence. That's sort of my plug. I work with women that are victims of domestic violence. And for every woman that we try to house, let's say we accept 1, we have at least 18 that get denied, and there are no room in the shelters. The shelters are generally full. So I leave you with that information, and thank you.
See if there are any questions for you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Nice report.
Our last speaker is Dana Stevens.
Dana, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you for hearing this topic today and for your consideration of the proposal in front of you. I serve as the co-chair of the data work group for the East County Homeless Task Force, and I share that with George Glover. So when Dolores talked about the HMIS, that's a big topic for us. Getting the numbers and being able to measure, having a baseline, where are we and how are we moving forward. The housing navigator is such a critical position because that's the person who can figure out if this is a homeless woman due to DV, where are the beds that service that population? All the funding is so divvied up into the populations that it serves, and so having that housing navigator is so critical to being able to house the most people at any given time in the way that meets their particular need. Councilman McKendrick, you asked about other cities. It's my understanding from what I've learned that North County, the cities all contribute to fund an experienced, knowledgeable coordinator that is the person who can connect within the North County and make their efforts, maximize those efforts in coordination with the regional task force and leverage funding and make it more coordinated. You've heard a couple people talk about disjointed and siloed services. It's having a really good coordinator that is shared across the cities to provide a regional approach. I've done the homeless task force, the homeless count for several years, the last couple of years out here in El Cajon. And I've also done the interviews with people in Wells Park, over at the trolley station, out over at the shopping center, in a lot of places around El Cajon where the homeless congregate. And when you talk to them, most of the homeless folks you talk to grew up in El Cajon or East County, particularly. They found drugs in East County, became addicted in East County, either did or didn't graduate from school here in East County, and they remain in East County homeless because this is their home. It's not that they came from, Carlsbad to come hang out in Wells Park. For goodness sakes, they have nice parks in Carlsbad. They grew up here. Their lives were diverted. Their lives were sent on a horrible track here in East County, and we should service them here in East County. The Housing First model is the nationally accepted best practice for getting people off the street, giving them the wraparound services. I see my time is up.
You know what? Go ahead and turn it to life. This is important.
Okay.
I want to hear what you have to say.
It really is the nationally recognized best practice, and it demonstrates that people will get off of, they can find recovery, they can find jobs, they can get into training for work once they get off the street. I would challenge anybody. I don't know how I would apply for a job living on the street, unable to take a shower. I don't know how any of you would manage that. So housing is the most critical need. It is what separates homeless from people in recovery, from people who have jobs, from people who manage to get their life in a different direction. And if we're not willing to work with the other cities, fund the person who can coordinate and connect to the resources that this $18 million they're talking about, why are we not benefiting? Because we're all cut up into little tiny pieces. And you've heard other people say, and those pieces aren't talking to each other. And we're not measuring what's working and what's not. And so I applaud that you're taking the time to think about this and learn about this and coming to the meetings and really studying the issue. Please support the Housing Navigator. Please consider talking to the other cities about how to fund a well-trained person to be the coordinator across our cities with a shared interest in all of the cities and how to solve our regional homeless problem. These are people that are our community, and we should be taking care of them. Thank you.
Thank you. No more cards?
No more cards.
All right, Council, we've got a lot of information here. Open up the discussion. No, actually, yeah, I guess we do have to. No, we don't have to close the public hearing, no. It's not a public hearing. Thanks, though. That's always confusing. Steve, did you want to start?
This is a no-brainer to me. After listening to many of the stakeholders, as I previously mentioned, the people of El Cajon are saying we can't wait for somebody to take action. Is the county supposed to do it? Is the federal government supposed to do it? Is a nonprofit agency supposed to do it? The people of El Cajon are saying, somebody, just please do something. And so we have before us a great opportunity today to do something and to do something smart. By funding this through Crisis House, we're not creating a larger city bureaucracy. We are working with people who are much more expert in this than we are. So we have a chance to leverage that. I believe there's two paths. After speaking to one gentleman who works downtown, there's the emergency shelter transitional living path that has a place in this, and there's the permanent housing solution, the housing first model in place of this. Both need to exist, so I believe that. I talked to Rebecca Palmer yesterday. She and I spoke earlier this year, my first conversation. She's with the Community Resource Center in Encinitas. She's with Opening Doors is the name of the project that Encinitas did. It comes up for a vote tomorrow night to go for a second year of a housing navigator. Their first year goal was 25 people. They got 28 people housed, 22 chronically homeless, and 6 veterans, even though their goal was 25 veterans. It did not attract more homeless to the area by having a housing navigator create this program, according to Rebecca, so that's good news. I really like the part about pets. If we're going to help homeless people transition into permanent housing, we need to remove barriers. If they have a pet, who's going to take care of my pet? Otherwise, I'm not going to go into housing. So I think that's a great solution. I am concerned if it lasts beyond 90 days, that becomes an unusual expense and liability for the city at that point. We have 210 assessments. I get it. There's a backlog. I get it. There's a navigator that is needed to get this. The key component I haven't heard yet is how do we keep them housed? It's one thing to say, I found an apartment for you, but now how do you keep them housed? Certainly under Project One for All, Mr. Estrella, you may know the answer, but I believe there's more than 100 Section 8 vouchers available today for seriously mentally ill, which is permanent housing as long as they maintain that classification of SMI. Am I correct? I'm correct. On the non-SMI part, there are programs through the San Diego Housing Commission, who has vouchers for different kinds of things. And so there are resources out there to keep them housed, because some of these, especially substance abuse, chronically ill, seniors, maybe they can't get employment to continue on. So for that group, there's a level of compassion that's needed. I'm not addressing those that are capable to work. Which leads me to Captain Kelsey, your reunification program is a bargain. 20 people for $500, where can we sign up kind of thing. The rapid rehousing money is your money to give that first couple of months. Some people may say, if I only had a housing security deposit, I could get back in. That's all they need is just $3,000. And then I'm employable, I'm employed. That's a good use of money. This app, it's a really creative thing that no other city is doing. It's a text-based app, not a smartphone-based app. I've learned that many of the homeless do not have smartphones. They have text phones. And so this app works on a wristband, which would be distributed to homeless, to say, text this number to such and such, and immediately you get back a phone number to call to say, I need help with this, or this. I think that has potential across the country. All of these things are a bargain. $168,000 to me, and especially I look at it in terms of cost reduction. I know that 25 to 45 people that this could cover cost our police and our fire more than $168,000. So it's a hard cost of an additional $168,000, but it is allowing our police to redeploy in areas that perhaps we'd like them to redeploy instead of what they're currently doing in that area. The firefighters, there's a statistic, they handled 2,900 calls last year, 8 per day citywide related to homeless. That's costing us money. And so this is a very compassionate, very smart use of money. I think the people of El Cajon are saying, what are you waiting for?
We are just considering the recommendations, right? Is this what this is for?
The issue is really all things homeless. We have presented recommendations. If the council wishes to add to that, you're free to do so.
As it reads, it's just consider recommended strategies that we heard earlier today through the presentation.
Yes, sir, that's our recommendation, but I'm saying if the council wants to add other, you certainly are free to do so.
Okay.
Well, I agree with Councilmember Goebel. I think it's $167,500 well spent. Although I think it's important that there is a director for the task force. I know Eric is worked to the bone right now. So I would like to take a look at funding some of that cost for the director. And I went out a couple times with the police officers over the years and talked with the homeless myself. And I've talked with the people at the East County Transitional Living Center. I mean, I have a graduate from there living at my house, so we talk a lot about the people that live there and what things that they faced out on the streets. And one of the things is, believe it or not, is they're very close to their pets. And I think that can make the difference in time between a guy going into a program and not, because those guys love their dogs. Sometimes that's been their companion for years, because a mentally ill person sometimes has some trouble making friends with people that aren't dogs. You know, I think we need to spend some money on the kenneling, and maybe we could look at see how much that's going to cost the city. But again, as Councilmember Goebel pointed out, we're going to save on the other end with police and fire, and every time we have to pay the paramedics to go up to Grossmont Hospital emergency room, and indirectly costing us and the taxpayers, because emergency room is expensive too. And if we get them off the streets, those things aren't going to happen. And I'd just like to take another look at the full-time hot team study. Just maybe there's some way we do that for a little bit less money. So that's my input for today.
First of all, I want to thank the city staff for a comprehensive report. And again, thank the task force for leading the way with this and giving them some data to work with. I think almost everything I heard today was positive. I have a doctorate in psychology. I work in a hospital. I work with the homeless. I think everything you're doing makes a lot of sense. I would caution that we have to keep in mind that a lot of the fuel for homelessness has to do with drug and alcohol abuse. And that until we really attack the root of the problem, all we're doing is cleaning up behind an ongoing mess. Having said that, I think Councilmember Goebel is correct. We have to do something. The people are asking us to do whatever we can. I think this is a reasonable approach. I really like the idea that we're taking at least some steps towards trying to reduce panhandling. And the reason I say that is because panhandling is not a kindness. There are times when it can be, but I think for the most, if you really look at what homelessness is, and in my mind, it is mostly, again, fueled by drug and alcohol addiction. When you're giving money to a panhandler, what you're basically doing is helping to keep that addiction going. It's a daily drive to try to earn enough money to buy enough alcohol to get them through that day, or to buy enough crystal methamphetamine to get them through that day. And so when you're helping somebody on the street by giving them $5, let's be honest, you're buying $5 worth of meth. That's what you're doing. You're buying $5 worth of alcohol. And is that really helping anybody? My feeling would be whatever we can do to reduce the amount of money going into that person's pocket puts them in a position where they more have to turn towards services like Crisis House and like the East County Transitional Living Center and other already established programs that will give people not enough meth to get through the next day, but possible resources to get them off the streets permanently. And that's where we have to put our efforts towards. Having said that, I'm comfortable with the staff's recommendations, and I'd like to move forward towards approving that. Yes.
The staff recommendation is to consider the recommended strategies, which would mean no action today.
Right.
Where are we going?
Well, okay, let me clarify that just on terminology. We would like you to take action today so that we can move on this issue. So maybe we weren't as directive enough. Consider means we would like you to either approve, partially approve, or reject what are specific recommendations. Graham gave the list up on the screen that totals $168,000 and a few other dollars. We did not recommend 3 issues that the Chamber Task Force had brought up. And then, as I just mentioned in response to Councilmember Kalasho's question, if there's something that we haven't discussed here that you either want to make a decision on or to tell us go look at further and come back, we're happy to do that. But we really do want the council to make a decision because we think it's time to move forward on this issue.
So I guess what I was saying is I'm comfortable with the recommendation as the staff has presented it, but if you wanted to talk about adding or detracting something from that, that's certainly open to discussion.
Yes, I'd like to perhaps go ahead and make a motion that we accept the staff recommendation of the $168,000, but to ask them also to investigate the staffing portion of a director at a future date. And I think that's it. That's my motion.
Under discussion, Gary?
Steve, would you consider adding the kenneling, looking at that?
The kenneling beyond 90 days?
That was part of it, I believe.
Yes,
the kenneling was part of the $168,000.
Okay.
What we have not addressed is if it goes beyond 90 days.
The two major issues that were not recommended by staff, by my understanding, is funding a full-time officer to be a hot team person, and then funding the director of the entire program.
And the showers. And the showers.
And the showers. So I'm comfortable with what they've recommended, but did you want to add anything? You wanted to add at least to explore the possibility of providing for the director?
Yes.
Okay, if that's a motion?
Second.
Second, I'm comfortable with that. Motion and second, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous votes of those present.
Well, thank you, all of you that were involved. I know that you probably have nothing else to do besides sit for the rest of the council meeting, but if for some reason you had to leave, I wouldn't be offended. Thank you very much for coming. All right, there are no commission reports. Item 6.1 is my activities report. I do want to read my legislative report. I want to provide an update on one of the bills that the City Council has been opposing and recommended that we add a bill to support. Assembly Bill 1250 is a bill that makes it much more difficult for government agencies to contract out for services. The League of California Cities has been working closely with the author of the bill to encourage changes. One of the recent changes made after much effort by the League is to exempt cities from the bill's requirements. This is a significant victory. I recommend that we continue to track this bill until its final vote. Also, last week I was made aware of a bill, AB 1408, introduced by Assemblyman Ian Calderon. AB 1408 mitigates some of the negative impacts resulting from Proposition 47 and AB 109. As you might recall, Proposition 47 downgrades many serious crimes, and AB 109 requires the early release of inmates into the local probation supervision. AB 1408 would require the state to pass along vital information to local law enforcement agencies about inmates that are being released early. It also requires that the state parole board consider an inmate's entire criminal history prior to consideration or considering that the inmate for early release. Finally, rather than relying on quote-unquote flash incarcerations for those that violate conditions of early release, AB 1408 revokes the early release opportunity altogether. Currently, the California Police Chiefs Association and the League of California Cities supports this bill. I recommend that we add this to our legislative list and direct staff to prepare a letter for support of the bill. Council, will I need a vote to get that done? So I would make a motion that we do just that.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote. Thank you, Council.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
And that is the end for me. Councilmember Kedrick.
As reported.
Councilmember Colascio.
They are as I have reported them, and I have a video.
Yeah, Council, you have item 9.2. Can you tell us about this item?
It was from Clean El Cajon Day that I introduced. It was at Wells Park. It was a huge success, and I have some footage that I want to share with everybody.
Hey everyone, this is El Cajon City Councilman Ben Colascio on location at Wells Park on Clean Up El Cajon Day. I'm here with
Joel Scalzetti from Mary's Donuts.
Joel was awesome. He called me as soon as he found out we were doing Clean El Cajon Day, and he's like, Ben, how many dozen donuts should I bring? And then how many did you bring today?
Several dozen, I think 5 or 6 dozen.
And what kind are they?
We had assortment.
Roll it in. Let's roll it in over here.
All the way from old-fashioned to red velvet, some Bavarian filled, Long Johns, and some sprinkles for the kids.
Awesome. And Joel, tell everybody about your involvement and your commitment to our community, because I know you were so kind to reach out to me, but I know that you do all this kind of stuff all throughout East County because you believe in East County and you want to give back to the community. So tell us a little bit about Mary's Donuts, the model, your business, and what you do as far as community outreach.
Well, proud to be, here in East County. We have one location in Santee and another one in Lakeside. We do a lot of community benefits. And also, I wanted to give a good shout out to Helix Water. They've got a number of employees that took time on their Saturday to come out and help clean up the community also. They're not just here working on our pipelines, but they're here on a Saturday here to clean up the park and better East County. So I'm really proud of them also.
We're so proud and honored to have them. You guys brought in like 20 or 30 Helix employees, and that just goes to show their commitment to the community. Like Joel said, they're volunteering their Saturday. And one last thing, it's very, very important. Joel, how do I get a hat like that? We won't have to call.
We'll see if we can get one made for you. You have to come down and get fit.
I got to get my head measured there.
So you'll have to come down and get a donut.
Guess who I bumped into?
Christine Costa, Waste Management.
What do you got for us?
So I have a quarter of a bag so far, and this is just from a small section of the parking lot out here.
We are so happy and proud to have Waste Management take part in Clean Up El Cajon Day. They brought in bags, they brought in gloves, they even brought in T-shirts for the volunteers that are helping us out today. We're so thankful to have their support. Is there anything you want to tell everybody?
We just want to say thanks for thinking green. We appreciate the partnership with the City of El Cajon. We're proud to serve the communities where we work and live, and we look forward to future events.
Awesome. Go East County. Hello again, and I got a representative from Helix. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Bryant from the Helix Water District. I work with the Public Affairs team, and we're really happy and excited to be out here with the City of El Cajon as part of our Helix Helps program. We started that earlier this year in an attempt to work more closely with our individual communities and to find another way for us to give back.
Awesome, and I know you guys brought in some 20 volunteers.
We did.
So that's pretty awesome. I know when I got the email from Helix, I was stoked because we wanted more manpower, and we want to thank you. This whole partnership between City and the Water Agency is phenomenal. We look forward to another partnership with you guys in the near future because we want to make this a routine thing. Is there anything you want to say to everybody watching? This is going to be on YouTube.
We're thrilled to be part of it, and we'll look forward to just some additional volunteer opportunities as the year goes on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
My name is Ryan. My name is Sean. Here at Wells Court, we have been cleaning up trash. So we have a cardboard thing, and we found a bunch of cigarettes. And then we found a gigantic pizza crust. Thank you, Ben.
All right. Thank you very much. Angela, do we have any speaker cards on this item?
No speaker cards.
All right. No actions required on this item. Anything else you want to say, Mr. Kalasha?
It was hot that day.
Yeah, I bet it was. All right, Mr. Goebel.
As reported, I would also like to report on my experience on the same day with Fire Ops 101. Was an event put on by the Heartland Fire Department. The firefighters from the locals from Lemon Grove, La Mesa, and El Cajon. They invited some city leaders and press to spend a day in the life of a firefighter. The particular day, we did things that they did. And we wore the turnouts, which was, I'm going to guess, about 20 pounds of equipment, and then went into a burning room with another 22 pounds of breathing apparatus. And so we went into a burning room. I climbed a 100-foot aerial ladder and made it down in one piece. And we went into a smoke-filled room to try to learn how they handle that situation. We learned how to quickly extricate somebody from the automobile, and those jaws of life and things weigh 40 to 50 pounds each. We learned EMS techniques and CPR. I think my highlight of the day was the situation in which 5 of us went into a second-story apartment to find a person who was unresponsive. And you're supposed to do a shake and shout, hey, buddy, you okay? And I looked at one of the 5 firefighters who was with me, and I said, you, call 911. And in unison, they all said together, we are 911. Once I realized who I was with, I said, then let's keep going and save this guy. And it was a great experience, and what it taught me is that, number one, the day before they had a mobile home fire in El Cajon, they had a grass fire up on the hills above Greenfield, and they had an auto extrication the day before. And this is, again, when it's over 90 degrees, we're in their turnouts all day long, which, by the way, is what it's been for the past couple of days. So to say the people of El Cajon should know these gentlemen in El Cajon are strong, they're patient, they're skilled, loyal, discerning, they are creative, they are wise, they are professional. I'm very proud they are our firefighters.
Now, you know you have to resign your council position if you apply for the department.
I cannot ever be a firefighter. I cannot do the work.
It's tough work.
It's tough work.
Thanks, Steve. This sounds like a lot of fun. Okay. There are no joint council member reports and no general information items. There are no first readings. Item 14.1 is a second reading of an ordinance approving zone reclassification number 2302. Council, do any questions or comments? No? Angela, do you have any speaker cards?
No speaker cards.
All right, then would you please recite the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance approving zone reclassification number 2302 for the rezone of property located on the east side of South Lincoln Avenue between East Camden and East Washington Avenues from the RS6 residential single-family 6,000 square feet zone to the RM 4300 residential multifamily 4,300 square feet zone, APNs 488-371-01 and 493-101-01, general plan designation, medium-density residential, MR.
Very well. Well done. All right, so would someone like to make a motion? Motion approved. I'll second. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right, there are no closed session items on the agenda, and that brings us to the adjournment, the regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 27th day of June 2017, is adjourned until Tuesday, July 11th at 3 o'clock p.m. Thank you very much. Not bad.